And welcome back to TBS Presents Sport Magazine on radio. I'm John Daly. Sport Magazine on radio is brought to you by IVP Air, an air filter system that scientific studies have now shown that it can kill 99.9% of the COVID virus in the air. For more information, go to ivpair.com. We were talking to Bryan Cranston for the whole show. We will talk to him about his new movie called The One and Only Ivan, and also he has a mezcal. We're going to talk about that as well. Bryan, I want you to go back to sports, though, because you and John O'Hurley were together for the final game of the 2018 World Series between the Dodgers and the Red Sox. I got to admit, I was jealous of that. That was the game the Sox got their fourth World Series in the 21st century. But what was it like being a Dodger fan and knowing you had O'Hurley, a diehard Sox fan, and the Sox were going to take the series?
Well, John, you've known John O'Hurley even longer than I have, and I worked with him 36 years ago. So we've been friends for that long. Yeah, he's a good guy, and his son Will is a Sox fan too, and my daughter Taylor is a Dodger fan. But like I said, we're also Red Sox fans. It was much more of, hey, let's get together with our kids. Let's take our kids to a World Series game, and let's get. So I pulled some strings and did what I can to get those tickets and get John and Will to join Taylor and myself, and there we are. I wish it could have been a more interesting series that go 7 games and really have it exciting, but. It's still a World Series game. It's still fun to watch, and there wasn't any ribbing. I mean, John certainly had an opportunity to be, rude and inconsiderate like he normally is, but he didn't. He showed some class.
All right. Now, you've seen the Dodgers play even before Dodger Stadium. In your autobiography called The Life in Parts, you talk about going to the Coliseum. I believe it was the early 60s and maybe the late 1950s. You paint a great picture of Wally Moon and the left field monster there. Can you kind of go back and kind of recall a little bit of that for us?
Yeah. After the 1957 series, the Dodgers moved from Brooklyn out to Los Angeles and started playing at the Los Angeles Coliseum in 1958. As a matter of fact, they were in the World Series against the White Sox in 1959 and beat the White Sox. So only their second year in Los Angeles, they win a World Series. Whereas now, we've been waiting over 30 years for that to come back to us. But anyway, when I was very little, I went to the Coliseum. The Coliseum was built for the Olympics in, I'm going to get this wrong. I'll say 42, something like that. And it's, it's a football stadium. It's made for football and track and field. So it has that kind of oblong rectangular shape. It's not made for baseball. So when they put a baseball diamond in there, they had to address the very short porch that was now in left field. Huge area in center and right field, and a very short porch in left field. So they took the idea that the Red Sox have always employed, is build a monster. Well, they didn't want to build a permanent wall and something that, they knew Dodger Stadium was being built. So they put up a net, and they put it up like 44 feet, about the same, right? And they put up this net, 44 feet, and because Wally Moon, which I love that name, Wally Moon was acquired from St. Louis just the year before, and so he's playing in Los Angeles. And because of that huge field in right and center, and Wally Moon was a left-handed hitter, so they didn't want to pitch him inside or over the middle so that he would drive it to right field in that wide open space and get, extra bases. So they would pitch him kind of on the outside. Well, they kept pitching him on the outside, and he learned to do like a chip shot in golf, and just a little uppercut, little pop, little flick of the wrists. And he's so strong that those outside pitches he would flick up and hit pop-ups that normally would have been caught, would sail over the net for a home run. And until they were just trying everything they could to try to get him out. And he would flick these these things up and over the net for home runs, and they began calling them, I think it was Vin Scully who began calling them moonshots because he was just little flick shots. And it holds a special meaning to me because when I started my production company, I named it Moonshot Entertainment. And basically it was when you see an obstacle, figure out what you can do to overcome it, to adapt and figure out a way to solve your problems. And that's what Wally Moon did, and that's what we try to do in our production company.
We are talking with Emmy and Tony Award winner Bryan Cranston. Many of you know him from Breaking Bad. He has a new film out called The One and Only Ivan, which is coming out on Disney+. He's also behind the mezcal spirit Dos Hombres with his Breaking Bad co-star Aaron Paul. Okay, wow, you gave us some really good stuff there. I want to talk about your movie, The One and Only Ivan. Now, I heard people are going ape over this. I mean, you play across from... You like that, huh? You like that. I mean, you play across from a 400-pound silverback gorilla. What was that like?
It wasn't scary at all. And the reason it wasn't scary, John, is that none of the animals in the movie are real. They look absolutely real, but they're not real. They're computer graphic. So when we're shooting this movie, I'm working opposite guys in mocap suits, you know, the little dots on them, and all in green with puppeteers and men in costume and men wheeling around this big metal rack with a green tarp on it that's going to be the big elephant and then the gorilla. And there's about 11 animals in The One and Only Ivan, and not one of them are real. Yet it looks amazing. I was very happy to do this movie. It comes at the right time. It's a story based on a true story about a husband and wife in Tacoma, Washington that adopt this little silverback gorilla, and it's a baby. And I mean, with diapers, and they would put it in a stroller, take it to the park, and put it on the swings, and it got so much attention, and there were news items on it, and it was a great time for them when it was a baby. But babies grow up, and they become who they're supposed to be, gorillas. Have a gorilla in your house and see what happens to your house. They're swinging from the chandelier. They're pulling off the refrigerator door. They're opening up your sofas to see what's in there. They're curious. So it destroyed their house, and actually it destroyed their marriage too. My character then didn't want to say goodbye to his de facto son, so he found a defunct shopping mall and rented the space in it as a kind of a permanent circus. And Ivan was there as the headliner. He eventually got other animals too to make it more interesting. But this is where Disney takes off from there to make it a fantastic story. So that's the true story. And in our story, we have it where the animals can talk to each other, talking about what it's like to be a friend and what your ambition is and what are your goals and hopes and keeping promises. My character, the live action character, has to talk with Ivan, who is this inanimate object at the time. And it's really a beautiful picture. It really is. If you're 6 or 106, this is the time when you can bring the family together. You're going to cry together and laugh together. And maybe it also has a social value where children might ask at the end of it, why do we keep animals captive? Why do we have zoos? Is that really important? So, as storytellers, we don't want to offer up any answers. We would like to offer the questions so that hopefully it becomes a topic of conversation within the family.
We are talking with Emmy and Tony Award winner Bryan Cranston. Many of you know him from Breaking Bad. He has a new film out called The One and Only Ivan, which he's just been talking about. It's going to be on Disney+. And he's also behind the mezcal Dos Hombres with his Breaking Bad co-star Aaron Paul. And when we come back, Bryan, we're going to have a drink because we're going to talk about Dos Hombres. That's coming up next on TBS Sports Network here as TBS presents Sport Magazine on radio.
The TVS Television Network, for decades your home for great sports TV, is back. You can watch 6 TVS sports channels now streaming on WatchYour.tv. It's free and it's on the internet as well as on Roku, Android, and iPhone and iPad apps. Watch TVS Sports Network, TVS Classic Sports Network, TVS Turbo Sports Network, TVS Women's Sports Network, TVS Tavern Sports Network, and TVS Boxing Network. That's TVS Television Network. 6 free channels at WatchYour.tv.